Welcome to this short video which will show you how to configure the UC-DMX series of DMX controllers with Crestron Home. We're not going to cover the physical configuration of the unit here, as that's covered in some detail in the installation guide. So we're starting off with a UC-DMX connected to a box with a series of addressable RGB lamps. You can use your imagination to think of these individual lamps as RGB tape or colour-changing wall washers, but the principles that follow apply equally to single-channel lamps or colour-tunable white lighting fixtures. We support a number of different DMX channel configurations with the current drivers in Crestron Home, but if there's something you need that isn't supported, please let us know. The first step is to define the fixture types and addresses. We'll do this using the UC-DMX configuration tool that can be downloaded from the shop's product page. This step can be done with or without a physical UC-DMX interface, but if you have one wired up, this part of the tool has a nice feature to help test your DMX cabling and verify the DMX base addressing is correct. We'll connect up to the UC-DMX, which is indicated by the green icon next to the IP address, and then select the Crestron Home Setup section. On the left, we have a table of light fittings. We'll add an RGB fixture here and set the DMX base address to 1. This is the first channel that a DMX device occupies within a DMX512 universe, and is usually set on the DMX driver using dip switches or via some other settings on the driver itself. So, in this case, we've selected an RGB fixture, so that means we'll be using DMX addresses 1 for red, 2 for green, and 3 for blue. Over on the right, you can now see some detail about the light type and the channels used. The convention is that RGB fixtures define their channels in that order, but if you have a non-standard driver or the driver has been wired in an unusual way, we can actually reorder these channels by dragging the channel IDs to a new order. Our lights are standard RGB, so I'll leave them at that. Now, if I'm not sure that the light is wired correctly, or I've got the correct address, I can click on the press under Identify, and we'll see the DMX controller cycle through those 3 channels a couple of times. This is just a simple helper to check that the DMX data is getting through and the expected channels light up. So here we can see that our first lamp flashes red, green, and blue twice. If we add another light, you may notice that the type is copied from the previously selected light. This is just a time saver, so you don't have to keep selecting the type if you're adding multiple lights of the same type. We also increment the base address to the first available channel, so here, the next light is on DMX channels 4, 5 and 6. A quick press, and we see that the light flashes on the demo box on the second lamp. We also copy other settings such as the ramp time, which is the full-scale ramp time for the light in Crestron Home. So it should be obvious that we can keep adding lights in this way, but we can also choose one of a number of other channel configurations such as dimmable single-channel fixtures, tunable 2-channel cool warm white fixtures, RGBWW, which is RGB plus a single channel of white, and RGB tunable, which is 5-channel RGB and cool warm white. And finally, the pattern, which is a special feature of the UC-DMX, which can run a colour pattern across a number of fixtures. Pattern setup is configured in a different video, but I've set one up already for this demo using Generator 1 and Pattern ID 1. Once we have the fixture table ready, we can save it as a JSON file, or load one we've created previously, and up or download the file to the Crestron Home processor. When uploading to the processor, it's important to note the unit number. This is simply a number that you also enter when setting up the driver to identify different UC-DMX devices, in case you're using more than one. And you can have multiple UC-DMX devices, each with a different DMX universe of 512 channels on a single Crestron Home processor. We'll upload this file with a unit number of 1 to the processor. Now that the file's been put in the correct location, we'll switch over to the Crestron Home Setup app. First of all, we'll add the UC-DMX platform driver to a room. This driver won't be seen by the homeowner, but it makes sense to put it somewhere like a utility or rack room. Once the driver is given a name, you simply set the IP address of the UC-DMX and probably leave the port at its default, and then set the unit number to match what we just uploaded, or 1 by default. Now the driver will connect to the UC-DMX and also read the config file we've just uploaded. We now navigate back to the Platform Managed Devices folder and see the driver's name. In this folder, you should find a collection of lighting objects just as we defined them in the config. Add each one to a room. And that's it! Crestron Home now has control over your DMX fixtures using the excellent lighting UI of Crestron Home, but with any third-party lighting fixture. The UI automatically adapts to the capabilities of the selected light fitting. If you need to make changes, just edit the config file and upload. If any base addresses change, you will need to remove the old light and then re-add, but if the addresses remain the same, then the lights will simply pick up their new settings. I hope you found this demonstration useful, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact support@ultamation.com.